Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Spyro the Dragon. This is the first game of the Spyro series. I played it via the Reignited trilogy. This is a remaster of the original first three Spyro games. However, I do own and have played the original many times. It's a 3D collectathon platforming game where you assume the control of a young dragon named Spyro. Spyro can glide, he can breathe fire, he can roll left or right, and I always forget to do that. He can charge forwards, and you're going to use this moveset in order to navigate obstacles and defeat the enemies known as Norks. I really like how this game tackles Spyro's moveset. It's an easy 3D platformer, but it's not brainless in that the enemies all have their own unique weaknesses. Basically, like if an enemy is covered with metal, that means that they are immune to your fire breath, so you have to charge at them. And if they're really big, then they are immune to your charge, so you have to breathe fire at them. Now, if they're big and they're metal, they probably have some other weakness. For instance, if they expose their backside, normally you can breathe your fire at their back. But like I said, this game is super easy. Most of the enemies are going to go down in one hit. Some of the bosses will go down in 2 or 3 hits, but really you're not gonna have too much of a difficult time here. So this game kind of works similar to Mario 64 in that you have like this overworld, this main hub, and then you have these gates, these portals if you will, that will take you to other smaller worlds. The only difference between like this and Mario 64 is there's like 5 different central hubs that you're gonna travel to. So it's like each hub has 5 separate levels attached to it. The levels are pretty small, and you probably won't be returning to them if you get all of the gems and the dragons in each level, unlike Mario 64 where you return to the same map over and over again. So I mentioned gems and dragons. Basically, the main antagonist in this game, Nasty Nork, he has turned all of the adult dragons into dragon statues, and he's turned all of the dragon's treasure into enemies. And so it's up to Spyro to release all the adult dragons from their dragon statues and collect our dragon's hoard of treasure. I liked finding all the different dragon statues. Once you touch them, then an adult dragon will pop out. Most of the time, they'll give you some kind of tip or comment on the world that you're in, or sometimes they'll just say the typical "thank you for releasing me" and then leave. I can't remember how it was in the original Spyro, but what I really like about this game is each dragon that you rescue has their own personality and visual look, and they are so distinct from each other. They all have their own different voices, and it was always entertaining to see what type of dragon would come out of each statue. And it was just fun seeing like all the different adult dragon designs, like what their personality is going to be, what kind of outfit they're wearing. You're going to be collecting a lot of treasure in each level. Each level has anywhere from 200 to 500 treasure, and ultimately I think there's about 12,400 gems or something like that. It's a pretty high amount. That doesn't mean that you need to find each individual gem. Some gems are worth more than others. For instance, like if you get a purple gem, that's going to be worth 25 gems compared to a red gem that's only worth 1 gem, but there's still a lot of treasure that you need to collect. So in each level, they are small, but you are going to need to find all the chests, break them all open, defeat all the enemies, because each enemy will offer you some treasure as well. And for the most part, because these levels are so small and self-contained, this wasn't a problem. I was able to just search all the nooks and crannies and collect all the treasure before I reached the end world portal that will take you back to the main hub. But occasionally you would really like get to the end of the level and just find that you're missing like a very small amount of treasure, and then you have to go treasure hunting. And this part I do not like, because there's not really like any indication of where the missing treasure could be. You kind of just now have to scour the level and hope that you can find it. In most cases, it's probably just sitting in the grass somewhere and you just happen to miss it. But every once in a while, you would be missing about 100 to 50 treasure, and so you know that there's a decent amount of treasure that you're missing, and so there's obviously some sort sort of secret area that you can't find. And some of these secret areas are very obscure and difficult to find. Like, some areas you would never be able to find yourself, but I guess that's why we have the internet. There was maybe like 3 or 4 occasions when I needed to look up on YouTube, like, where the heck is this secret area where I'm missing all this treasure? And after I look it up, I never got the feeling of, oh, you know, I could have found that out on my own. Most of the time it was, how would I ever know this was here? So if you are trying to 100% complete this game, which I do recommend because collectathons kind of lend themselves to the 100% experience, especially smaller games such as this, don't beat your head up against the wall trying to find certain treasure. Just look it up online and save yourself the trouble, because really some of these secret areas are so difficult to find. Every once in a while you will need to hunt down dragon eggs. I believe there's 12 dragon eggs, and these dragon eggs are carried by these blue thieves that kind of taunt you. They go nya 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 nya, and then you have to like charge them down and they'll start running away. And so you have to be holding down the charge. When you're charging, you do move very fast, but your control is limited, and so you need to go down these snake-like paths trying to chase down these blue thieves without running into the wall or falling off the ledge. It was never too difficult, and most of the time I was able to get close enough to hit them with a fire blast to get that treasure. But you know, sometimes this can be a little frustrating just trying to get close enough, and they move almost as fast as you do. And in fact, I think they move the same speed, so really the only way that you can catch up to these blue thieves is by kind of cutting the corners, because they'll make these wide turns and you can kind of hug the wall a little closer. So yeah, those are the resources that you're collecting: gems, eggs, and dragon statues. I wish there was some kind of reward or incentive to collect all these things, but really how this kind of works is a hot air balloon at each of these main hubs, and in order to progress to the next hub, you need to rescue a certain amount of dragons. I'm not sure if you even have to collect any treasure in order to progress to the next area. I just wish there was like something, like some reward. Now, if you do 100% complete this game, then you get to unlock an extra last level, which is kind of cool. Basically, you have like endless flight compared to Spyro normally just being able to glide down to the ground, and it's kind of like a little puzzle game trying to fly to each elevated surface. But I don't know, that's not really too much of a reward in my opinion for 100% completing this game. Like, it would be cool to unlock like super flame or like different cosmetics for collecting all of these resources, but I guess the reward is the satisfaction by itself, because really, like, if you weren't trying to collect all these resources, this would be a very, very short game. I really, really like this Reignited trilogy. I love the visuals. This came out several years ago, but they still look so good. The enemies are so expressive. Everything just looks so colorful and smooth and playful. I love the soundtrack in this game. It's so unique and imaginative. It's just like a fun game to play. It's a fun world to be in because it's so warm and inviting and playful. And it's just really not even that intimidating. Probably the most difficult part about this game is trying to find all those obscure secret areas. Aside from that, the only other difficult levels that I can think of are there's these levels where you can actually just have like unlimited flight, and it gives you like a time limit. It gives you like 30 seconds, and you have to fly around this level and destroy certain groups of things. So for instance, in one level you have to go around and you have to destroy like 8 boxes, 8 Norks, light 8 fire poles, and then fly through 8 different hoops. And you have to do all these tasks within the time limit. Every time you destroy something or light a lighthouse or fly through a hoop, that will add time to your time limit, but time is of the essence. And so this was kind of difficult because either you might accidentally run into a wall or fall into the water, and you have to start all over. There's no checkpoints or anything like this, so it can be frustrating. But as you try over and over again, you slowly start developing these pathways, the most optimal way to hit all of these targets and objectives within the time limit. It's satisfying when you finally do it, but it can be pretty frustrating with these endless flight levels. There are boss levels, but the bosses themselves, like I said, they take maybe like 2 or 3 hits. Most of the time for these bosses, you are going to like dodge their attacks as you're platforming close enough to them, then hit them with a fire blast, and then they go to a different area, and then you rinse and repeat until you defeat them. It would have been kind of cool just to get like maybe like a little cinematic with these bosses, just to kind of see a little more of their personality, because really you spend maybe like 30 seconds tops with some of these bosses. Even Nasty Nork, the very final boss, doesn't get any kind of cinematic besides at the beginning of the game, and you just kind of chase him down a couple times and hit him, and that's it. There's no cinematic like, oh, how dare you, Spyro. The only like real peek into Nasty Nork's ambitions and plans is at the beginning of the game. He's watching like an interview with the adult dragons, and they're kind of trash talking him as he's sitting there watching TV, and he gets frustrated, and that's when he turns them all into statues, turns all the treasure into enemies. But I do think that the world building and the level creations make up for it. They're very magical and creative, whimsical kind of worlds that you'll be experiencing. It's just like a fun, simple, traditional 3D platforming collectathon with not a lot of bloat like a lot of modern games tend to have in order to like extend the game time of the game. Just like pure classic 3D platforming goodness. I will give this game a 4 out of 5. Maybe nostalgia is playing a bit with my score here, but I really did have a fun time playing it. And pretty soon I will hop into Spyro 2. Don't have a lot of nostalgia about the sequels for this game because I never played them on the PlayStation 1. I have played through the Reignited trilogy once before, and so I kind of remember 2 and 3, but I will be excited to compare and contrast the differences between these two games. Well guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Spyro the Dragon, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!